the lost oasis of Zerzura. In the distant past, the only ones who dared to enter the desert were the slave merchants. These groups of people were the first to report the existence of a walled white city called Zerzura, where there was enormous wealth. Apart from these legends, in the year 1835, a camel shepherd confirmed the existence of this place to the Egyptologist John Wilkinson. He said the place would be located at the confluence of three valleys on the plateau of Gilf el-Kabir. The legend went very deep in adventurers and lovers of the desert, who, since 1930, began to search desperately for this place. Among them were the explorers Ralph Bagnalt of Great Britain and Laszlo Almasi of Hungary, who used Ford Model T and Steyr trucks throughout the quest. However, despite all the expeditions, the city was never found, and the beginning of World War II caused many to abandon the search. Today, some say that Zerzura is guarded by giant beings who prevent others from entering or leaving the place. In addition, it's speculated that the Zerzurans are of European aspect and not of Arab ancestry or culture as most would suppose. Jumping Cactus. The jumping cactus is native to Mexico and the southwestern United States. So far, many believe this cactus really jumps over people to attack them. However, that's not quite the case. The truth is that this plant is usually very fragile, so the stems easily detach and rub against passers-by. Some don't even feel the slight touch, but most cry out in pain. And once they've stuck onto you, you should stay a meter away so you don't have to feel that pain again. Also, some jumping cacti bear fruit, but they're not edible. In fact, they don't even ripe with time. They just remain attached to the plant for months. However, during droughts, bighorn sheep and some species of deer rely on this fruit as food and a water source. This plant can usually grow up to 5 inches long, and in diameter, they could be up to 4 inches. This plant is also known as the cactus teddy bear because it looks soft and tender. Also, it usually shines under the Arizona sunlight. The Death Stalker. Did you know that in the deserts and arid zones, the 2,500 species of scorpions known by human beings to this day live? Do you have any idea which one is the fastest? The yellow scorpion, better known as the Death Stalker, is the species with the fastest bite, reaching a speed of 130 centimeters per second. This small scorpion lives in arid regions of North Africa and the Middle East. In general, they measure from 30 to 77 millimeters in length with an average of 58 millimeters and have a maximum weight of 2.5 grams. Its body is yellow, but the back and tail have a darker segment that contrasts with the rest. These scorpions feed on spiders, earthworms, centipedes, and also other scorpions. Sometimes they even resort to cannibalism. Likewise, they're nocturnal creatures. Its bite is very painful and can cause death in people sensitive to its poison. However, some studies also point out that one of the components of its venom potential to treat both human brain tumors and diabetes. Africanized bees. Africanized bees, also known as killer bees, are increasingly common in the south and west of the United States, where their presence reaches as far as north of California. These bees first appeared in the mid-50s, when a group of Brazilian beekeepers imported African bees to be crossbred with the European counterparts in order to improve their performance. However, the experiment was a disaster, because this new species is extremely sensitive to the presence of human beings. Experts say that anything disturbs them, and that's why they activate their natural alarm system. During their sting, these bees release pheromones with a smell very similar to that of the banana, which makes absolutely the whole colony join the attack. There's not much to do to scare them away, except to run as fast as possible. Even jumping into the water is a bad idea because the bees will be waiting for you to come out to breathe. In this sense, to date, these insects have killed at least 100 people. One of the best known attacks took place in Texas in 2003, when a swarm of 30,000 Africanized bees attacked a couple more than 200 times. In the incident, 2 small horses also died. Skinwalker. Navajo Nation occupies parts of Arizona, Utah, and New Mexico in the United States. Its natives believe in the existence of skinwalkers. Skinwalkers are a kind of sorcerer or witch capable of transforming into a wolf, coyote, owl, raven, fox, or any other animal. When the transformation is complete, this sorcerer or witch inherits the speed, strength, or cunning of the animal they've embodied. However, Navajo natives don't speak openly about skinwalkers and less with strangers, because they believe that in doing so, they could attract the attention of these beings. After all, a stranger who asks questions about skinwalkers could be one of them, looking for his next victim. Nevertheless, most claim to have seen them in their animal form running next to a vehicle and adjusting their speed when the driver accelerates. In other cases, people claim to have heard skinwalkers outside their homes at night. Nonetheless, skinwalkers almost never enter homes. Even New Mexico State police officers regularly see skinwalkers on a stretch of road in Navajo territory. Inland taipan. In the deserts of Australia, there's a snake that with just one bite can kill 125 adults or 253,000 mice. Do you know it? It's the inland taipan, the most poisonous terrestrial snake in the world. Its poison is 50 times more powerful than that of the cobra and almost 1,000 times stronger than that of the rattlesnake. In this sense, its bite paralyzes the nerve endings, destroys muscle tissue, and causes very serious bleeding. The inland taipan feeds on small mammals like the plains, native and long-haired rat. This reptile attacks its prey with its poison. The poison acts so quickly the prey doesn't have time to defend itself nor escape. Nevertheless, the inland taipan lives in very remote Australian territories, places that are hot and dry, so few human beings have come across them. People who have been bitten by this type of snake tend to be snake charmers or guardians of natural parks. These snakes usually take refuge in abandoned burrows, deep cracks in the earth, or in rocks. Haboob. Can you imagine a windstorm in the desert? This phenomenon is called haboob. Its name comes from the Arabic word hab, which means wind. A haboob can transport huge amounts of sand or dust, which moves like a dense wall at a height of 1,000 meters. They usually last about 3 hours and are more common during the summer. Haboobs occur in the Sahara Desert and in the Arabian Peninsula, as well as in the arid areas of North America, such as Arizona and Texas. As in the Middle East, haboobs in the United States are often created by the presence of a thunderstorm. On July 5, 2011, one of the most important dust storms ever recorded took place in Phoenix, capital of Arizona. According to the North American Meteorological Service, winds blew over 50 miles per hour, and it was determined that the dust reached at least 5,000 to 6,000 feet in the air. Blinding and suffocating dust can quickly reduce visibility, which has generated more than one catastrophic traffic accident. Redback spider. Australia is home to the redback spider, one of the most dangerous and poisonous of its kind. Its bite can swell rapidly and be extremely painful. These spiders always try to approach the homes of people. In this regard, it's estimated that 500 to 1,000 redback spider bites take place in Australia every year, many of them in the genitals, since females build their webs in wooden latrines. In fact, scholars point out that the species always prefer cracks before rocks and shoes instead of tree trunks. And although they're completely native to Australia, specimens of the species have been found in some areas of Japan. It's presumed that they've been transported on ships or import and export products that have managed to travel these distances. For them, survival is very simple because their diet is based on lizards, mosquitoes, flies, and the like. But they also manage to spend up to 100 days without feeding when conditions get complicated. In addition, females practice sexual cannibalism, for which 65% of males are injured during intercourse, while 12.5% die afterwards. What an animal! Desert horned viper. Among the animals that we can find in the Sahara, one of the most feared is the horned viper. The most striking feature in this reptile are its horns. However, these vipers are buried in such a way that it's practically impossible to spot them thanks to its colors, which are very similar to sand. In addition, they usually spend the hottest hours of the day in the shade of the bushes or under the stones. When they feel threatened, they can react in different ways, whistling loudly, staying motionless, fleeing, or biting. In this sense, it's considered the most dangerous of European poisonous snakes, considering its size, long fangs, and high toxicity. Sometimes it's found in areas inhabited by humans, such as railroad tracks or crops, and especially vineyards. In the past, the bites were more frequent because the peasants walked barefoot. So it should be noted that human beings are quickly affected by their venom, as well as mice and birds. Lizards are less affected, while amphibians can even survive a bite. Rose of Jericho. In the ancient deserts of Alexandria in Egypt and in the tributaries of the Red Sea, there is a very curious plant called the Rose of Jericho. This plant, which lives only in desert regions, grows and reproduces until the environment becomes unfavorable. At that moment, its flowers and dry leaves fall, the roots untie, and the dry branches bend, forming a ball that rolls with the wind. In fact, they can roll thousands and thousands of kilometers, completely dry, even for 20 years, until they find a moist place. They sink their roots in the earth and flourish again. For this reason, the Rose of Jericho is also called the resurrection plant, because it presents the particular property of dying and then flourishing again as many times as possible. Currently, it's possible to buy it dry, and then, when you put it in a container with a little water, watch it bloom in your own home. Among the uses that have been given to this plant today, highlights the property of blessing and protecting homes and attracting luck, money, and fortune to business.
Sahara glass. This glass scale.